Hey up everyone, Minkey here with a new kind of video I want to try out. I'm going to start trying to do deck profile videos and show off some of my decks that I've made. I'm going to start with this one right here that I've obviously got right here. This is my nostalgia deck. Now when I say nostalgia deck, I specifically mean it's like sort of like based on my own nostalgia rather than like trying to make it good. I mean, I will try to make it good, but I'm going to be putting in cards that I kind of like find nostalgia in some way, shape or form, if you will, if that makes sense. You will see what I mean with some of the cards that I put in here with some of the stories I'll tell, but that's well, we'll see as we go along, start off with now. Also, just to clarify as well, I don't play competitively or anything. Like I'll know something of like the ban list and something of how like meta decks or whatever, but I don't really keep up at all because it's never really interested me, to be honest. So when going through this deck, obviously it's not going to be very good, but it is just a fun deck, really. At the end of the day, that's what pretty much most of my decks generally lean towards. So to start off, we've got pretty much the ace card of this deck, if you will. I say the ace card, it's really just a powerful dragon, clear fire dragon, and his field spell clear world. I might actually change him out for a different ace monster, but I don't know, it's just always been clear fire dragon since pretty much the beginning. The reason why this guy's here is because back in I remember the first time I watched season 4 in full of GX. I say the first time, the first time in full, and it was a really nice, I remember really enjoying it. Basically, I remember watching just taking a week and saying I'll watch 5 episodes a day, except for obviously the last day in which I only watched 4, because so in 24 episodes it's weird it was at sound. So I've got Clear Fire Dragon here to kind of like remember that, if you will, for the start of that, if you will, for that week and I had watching it. So next up is Baron of the Fiend Sword. Now, he's not that great, to be fair. He's level 4 with 1550 attack and 800 defense. He's a Dark Fiend, so that's something which you won't know about now, but you probably will know soon enough, because I've got another deadline for Dark Fiends. But he's a pretty old card. I think he's one of the first cards I ever really got, to be fair. Like, he's not anything noteworthy, but he's one of the first cards out there, if you will, that I remember. Not the first card I remember getting myself, but because there's another monster I remember, which I don't know if I've got a copy of that somewhere. Hopefully I do, but if not, I'm sure I'll get a copy eventually. But I thought I'd put this card in just for now, and then maybe I'll probably take him out. But at the very least, it's been in this deck, so at least it's made something of an impact. Next up is Battle Footballer. Now, this is I don't know, this guy's just kind of like, he's one of the first monsters that had more than 2000 defense that I got, if not the very first monster that I got with more than 2000 defense, and level 4 lower, obviously. I don't know if it was a Charcoal and Patchy, but this one, Battle of Footballer, it was just kind of the first one that sort of made an impact, if you will. Like, it was noteworthy because it was I mean, for one, it's got a fast attack. That's pretty nice. Not machine duplication nice, but it's something. And he's also I don't know what it is. It's just a bit more nostalgic to me, to be honest. Next up is Domain Angel of Silence. Capital T in there for some reason, but okay. Yeah, they're not very good. Level 5, so they require tribute, and they've got more than 1500 attack, so you can't Inferno Rex summon them. So they're not very good. But I remember seeing this card in the anime. It wasn't actually played in the anime, but I remember seeing it in the anime, as well as it being one of the first cards I got as well. So I thought it was pretty cool, you know, just for that. Just for like, it's one of those things where you're a kid and you think, oh look, there's one of my cards that I have. You know, like we're in the show, you know, that's that kind of thing with it. So that's kind of what Dome is to me, if you will. Next up, and I can actually show these together, fortunately, is Faithbird and Skull Redbird. And you may notice that all these monsters, all these cards are going to be in board order, if you will. As in, like, the border, these are all normal monsters so far, and then you're going to go over effect monsters and spells and traps. You'll see as it goes along, but at the moment, all these are going to be ordered accordingly. The only exception I make is, in this case, Clear Fire Dragon and Clear World, because that's pretty much the ace of the deck at the beginning, so I always put them at the front. But otherwise, it always is the border as well as alphabetical to make it easier for me to go through them. But yeah, these two are in here, and you'll see why near the end of the deck why these two are here. But but they're pretty cool. I mean, 1500 attack on Faithbird and 1550 on Skull Redbird, so that's pretty alright. Those two are not too bad. I mean, it's not too good, but it's pretty alright. Next up, and finally, well not finally, the final normal monster is Trent. Now, this guy is a level 5 monster as well, just like Doma, but he has 1500 or less attack. I don't know if how well you can see that. Yeah, I don't know, I'll have to take pictures of these like I did last time. And the reason why that's important of them having 1500 less attack is because there's a spell card called Inferno Reckless Summon, which says whenever you special summon a monster with 1500 less attack and your opponent controls a monster, you get to special summon 2 more copies of that monster. So, making Trent really nice of the card, if you will. That's not why Trent's here, because obviously I've got Doma here as well. The reason why Trent's here is because there's a monster called Giant Rat, and when he's destroyed battle and sent to the graveyard, you special summon an Earth monster with 1500 less attack, like Trent. And there's this one video game that I used to do that in, not all the time, but I would do that in because it was one of the. It's a really cool strategy because you get out of 3 level 5, essentially. Yeah, and nowadays I guess it's a little bit more viable, simply for the fact that we've got Ixies, but anyway, so the first effect monster is Kai's Shadow Monarch. Essentially, I remember this card, I remember really liking this guy, and combining him with another card called DD Banish Warrior? No, it wouldn't be that. But I know it's I know there's one card that says like when this card is banished, you can like bring it back the next turn or something. So making him basically a perfect target for this card's effect, which is when this card is tribute summoned, banish 1 card on the field. If it was a dark monster card, inflict a fast to your opponent. So making them the two of them a really nice strategy together, because you get your card back. So next is Cupid Force. The reason why this card's in here is because, like, I remember in the past 4 years, if you will, I remember going to town and to this one card shop, and I bought a few cards there, including, I can't remember all of them, but I remember I got 2 copies of this card. I remember getting this level 1 Synchro because I thought that was pretty cool, and also this level 5 Synchro, which I really liked because it was a Fiend type monster, which again I'll go over in a bit, not in a bit, in another deck profile, but and I thought I better put one of these cards into my Nostalgia deck for it being Nostalgia. So you know, and I just ended up picking this card because I thought this card was the best card to go for. I might put a level 1 in here as well, but I'm not too sure at the minute. The level 1 Synchro, I should say, because obviously level 1 Synchro is quite interesting, if you will. You know, she does require monsters with 600 defense to exist on your side of the field, which last time I checked, I don't have any, and I don't have any in the deck at the moment. And I don't think I added any because I think I added only 3 monsters since then. No, I had 4 monsters, but I don't think any of them are weak enough, because I think they're all too powerful. But yeah, I thought I'd add her anyway, just for the sake of, next up is Duke Frog. The reason why this card's in here is for another frog that I should have, but I don't have in this deck, I don't think. I'll keep looking for the card, but I know it's not going to be in. I'll keep looking for my collection, but hopefully I have it somewhere. But yeah, I thought I'd add in frogs because they're kind of cool in a way. I think they're pretty cool in a nostalgic way. Yeah, because like I said, I don't really play competitively. I know frogs was kind of fireballs somewhere, but I don't know. Gandaria, the Mystery Dust Kaiju. Now, this card isn't in here for its Kaiju status, because it's the only Kaiju I have. In fact, I think you can include 2 copies of pretty much any Kaiju and you'd be fine. But this card is in here for it's more like moth status, if you will, and you'll see what I mean by that soon. When we go over another card in this deck. So, but the fact that it's a moth, I've decided to include it for that purpose. So, next up is Grenmargy the Isa. This guy is pretty powerful nowadays, with the right setups, but that's not the reason why he's in here. The reason why he, of all things, is here is because I remember as a kid watching Battle City and whatnot, and seeing like the Egyptian god cards pop out and like do their like very powerful effects and what have you, and like you've got the Schleif and the Sky Dragon Obelisk and Ra, and it's like it was so cool to see the Egyptian god cards. Like obviously like Ra ends up being pathetic pretty much, sadly, but I remember like having this card back then when I was young, and like thinking like it looked like Slifer, but it's not Slifer because it's not strong enough. Like it's not got a big enough level, and it's I guess Fire True makes sense, but why is it a fiend? Shouldn't it be a dragon because it's Slifer? And then I later realised it's because it's Grenmargy the Eyes, when I had no way of I didn't really understand how to pronounce it back then either, and not that I really do nowadays. I just pronounce how it's spelt. But yeah, I thought this was a pretty cool card, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to include this because I really like it. It's it's one of my favourites just because of that little bit of nostalgia right there. Like a little slide for the Sky Dragon. Even though Slifer's not my favourite, Obelisk is, because he's the best in the real card game and whatnot. But anyway, next up is the 3 Legendary Knights. Now these, I know I said I wasn't really playing competitively or anything, but these are here just for something else that's going to be in here. So these 3 are just here to like build off of that, if you will, in a way. And I feel like you can kind of say it works in a way, if you will, but but I just thought I'd include them anyway because it'd be nice to have a few extra plays with it. Next up is Maha Philo. This card is he's pretty nice. I think he's a pretty cool card. It's unfortunate that it didn't last too long in the anime. They don't really play too much, but it's pretty nice. It's a pretty powerful card when played right. I think it just relies on the quick spells, if you will, which is a downside to it, because I know like the quick spells aren't the best, but it's Maha Philo, so and I'm really glad that Maha Philo did get a retrain as well. So there is that as well. That's really cool, I think, and I'm gonna include them as well. I think I might have a copy somewhere. I'll have to find it, but I do want to include a copy of that as well, which I haven't yet, but I will eventually, of course. Next up is Oyster Moister. This card, as far as I'm aware, if he's sent from the field to graveyard, well, I mean, his effect is when this card is sent from the field to graveyard, except when destroying a battle, special summon an Oyster token. Which, as far as I'm aware, you can synchro this guy. Like, you can use this guy's synchro material or fusion material or link material or whatever while he's on the field and get that token still. Which is level 1, by the way, so it's really good for, like, again, really easy, like, well, it's level 1, it's still something, which is nice, and I guess you could do, like, Formula Synchron with it or something, but, you know, and I'm pretty sure you can synchro off it anyway, you know, and get that token or link off of it or whatever, because it says when, you know, and then just do it, you know, if you will, like, you have to do it if you've got the space for it, obviously. If you don't have the space for it when you can activate it, then you can't, then you don't get it, but, or if you do choose to activate it when you have no space for it, during that chain, if you will, or whatever, then you don't get it, but as far as I'm understanding, you can synchro off this guy and get the token, so, which is really nice. And I say synchro because obviously synchro is my favourite, but you can link off of it, fuse off of it as long as it's in the field, stuff like that. Next up is Rye Rider, as weird as this is. Oh, and by the way, Oystermeister, by the way, the previous card, 1600 attack on a level 3, so that's pretty cool. Now Rye Rider is also a little cool as well, in the sense that he's a level 3, and he's also got Celtic Guardians stats, but reversed. But that's not why he's here. The reason why he's here is because there's this video game on the Switch that I was playing within the last year or so. I had it before the past 4 years, but you know, I got it pretty quickly. But this card, I was playing against one of the characters. I think her name is Anna Kaboom or something like that. And she plays like very powerful rocket monsters with like huge downsides, where you get to special summon your 5/5 type point monster easily, but you have to like discard your entire hand or something like that. And basically what happened was, in this duel I had with her in the game to, you know, progress the story, what ended up happening was she ended up attacking my Rye Rider, and with her 5 attack point monster. Now bearing in mind, this monster says to during your standby phase, always discard the card that you draw for your draw phase, right? So pretty much meaning you get no cards from your deck, if you will, or they always go to the graveyard. This card's effect, however, the fact that she's attached to Rye Rider though, this card's effect is, if this card battles an opponent's monster, that monster cannot attack once it's faced upon the field. So therefore, after she attacks it, her monster could no longer do battle damage, or not even do battle damage. You just couldn't couldn't attack, right? It can still do battle damage if I recklessly attack into it, but it can't attack itself, you know. So the fact that I had Rye Rider just do that, right, means like, oh cool, is she going to do something different then? Is she going to destroy a 5,000 attack point monster or something? No, she just kept it on for the whole duel. And I could have decked her out as well if I wanted to, if I really wanted to go like all in on that. But I ended up like with a few cards left on her deck, I decided, you know what, I'm going to overpower the monster, then I'm going to destroy it and win that way, you know, win a normal way, if you will. But yeah, I always remember that because it was pretty cool that Rye Rider ended up doing that for me. So that's why he's in here. Next up is Ronin Toadin. Again, another frog card that I put in. Next up is Sea Koala. You'll see more why this guy's in here, but for now just know that he's a sea creature and he's kind of like otters and minks, so that's pretty cool. And you know, I just like this kind of, I just kind of like what he builds up to be, if you will. You'll see what I mean by that in a moment. Next up is Shadow Slayer and Spear Crescent. These two, to be fair, don't really have anything to do with each other, but they're pretty old cards, and I like them a lot, to be honest. Like Shadow Slayer, I kept on seeing it and thought, yeah, that's pretty cool if you can get the effect off of, you know, attacking directly while everyone else is in defense mode or whatever, but I never really put him into a deck. And then also like Spear Crescent, he's pretty cool. He special summons monsters like really easily, if you will. Like he special summons monsters really easily, just from like a flip effect. After this card is flipped, when it's sent to the graveyard, both you and your opponent select one monster from your respective graveyards and special summon them on a face-up attack or face-down defense position. No tributes are required for monsters of level 5 or higher. So yeah, you know how old it is by the fact that it says something like that. And you basically both of you monster reborn something in face-up attack position or face-down defense position. Which, it does make me wonder, like, does that mean you can special summon a Link in face-down defense position? Probably not, to be fair. But I'm assuming not, but it would be cool if it was like, by the wording or whatever, by the rulings, they had to change Spear Crescent a little bit just to like that you can't special summon a Link monster. Like that. Yeah, because that would be troubling, I guess. Well, it's unfortunate they changed the other card, the Darkness Approaches, said you can't have a face down attack position monster anymore. That's really a shame, especially since it's now basically just a worse Book of Moon, but anyway, I digress. Next up, we have Torque Tune Gear. This card is basically a tuner monster that is a unity monster that makes the equipped monster a tuner monster. So it's like tuner 1, tuner madness here, which I really like. I really like my synchronous tuners and whatnot. So yeah, it's pretty much one of the most perfect cards for me, if you will. It's really cool. So yeah, that's why they're in here. Next up is 2 Treeborn Frogs. Unfortunately, this is the only 2 copies I've got at the moment that I know of. Might have more in my collection, but I do want to get a third one. So you know, and they are also in here for the frogs. So that's why they're here. Next up, we have a Tree Otter. So an actual otter card, and it's a Tree Otter, and this is also to do with Sea Koala, which you see. You've seen it, like I said, you'll see near the end, and this guy is also a beast. He's pretty cool, I think, just for the fact that he's, well, what I'm about to show you at the end, so, you know. Next up is Ultimate Insect levels 1 and 5. Yeah, these are the only 2 copies I have at the moment of Ultimate Insect. I do want to get 3 and 7, and it's also weird how Ultimate Insect level 1 has like is immune to spell cards, but he loses that upon that evolution, which really sucks. But you know, and Ultimate Insect level 1 is one of the first like really nice cards I got, so that's why he's in here, because he's like I don't know, I just really liked him when I first got him. Ultimate Insect level 5 isn't as nice looking, at least in terms of the card itself, but it's you know, it's still an evolution, so I thought I'd include him anyway. And finally, my final effect monster is Unizombie. Now I remember at one point, I think this guy's retrain of like a normal monster, a very old normal monster called Three-Legged Zombie. And I remember using that card somewhere, like somewhere pretty, you know, well, somewhere. I remember using it somewhere. And the fact that they made a retrain of it with Unizombie, and it's a tuner, and it's really cool, and it's really good, and it's, you know, I just really like it, to be honest. It's one of those things, you know. Now, for the first and only Pendulum monster, Dragon Caller Magician. This card isn't really anything nostalgic, I just thought I'd include it in for the whole dragon implication this card does. As a Pendulum monster, he can make, you know, one face monster on the field a dragon type monster, so even your opponent's monsters. Until the end of your opponent's turn, so that's pretty cool as well. It's to the end of your opponent's turn, so maybe you can Super Poly or something. And the main effect is, once per turn you can make this card become dragon type, so if he's a main monster, if he's a monster, then he can only use it on himself. Until the end of this turn as well, so it's like a Pendulum effect is a bit more powerful. A monster that was fusion synchro elixir summoned using this card on the field as material gains the following effect, and then that being, In this card, battles a dragon type monster, this card's attack becomes double its original attack during the damage calculation only, or damage type even. So, it's pretty cool, and you'll see more so wise in here in a bit, but it's a pretty nice card, I think. Now for the spells. First of all, Dragon's Mirror. I was going to say Dragon's Fusion then. One of the fusion cards that isn't actually called Fusion or Polymerization. Again, you'll see why this is in here in a bit, near the end. Next up is Flash Fusion. Probably one of my favourite fusion cards out there. It's a quick play. It's basically like a weaker super polymerization where it's a quick play. You only use monsters you control as material, and you lose the monster at the end during the end phase due to destruction. But it's still pretty nice. I think it's still got some uses out there. Next up is Mage Power. This is a very powerful quick spell card. That for every spell trap card you control, the equipped monster gains powerful attack and defense. And that's for every spell trap card on your side of the field. So you can control trap monsters that are still considered traps and gain even more attack on that, which is really nice. Or you can equip it onto Maha Philo and get even more attack there. Next up is Polymerization. This is pretty self-explanatory. The only problem, quote unquote, if you will, is that this card is not the right version that I want. And by that I mean there's a version of Polymerization that I know I have somewhere that says you special summon the monster rather than fusion summon it. Which is obviously, it genuinely says special summon it and it doesn't say fusion summon it. Implying that this card, Polymerization, the fusion spell card, does not fusion summon. And that's what I want here, which I won't find it today because I'm trying to record this for tonight. But if I find it, I'll do it. I'll showcase it next time. Which, by the way, this video, I'll say at the end actually. Next up is the Fang of Critias. You'll pretty much see why I've got this card. Well, again, it's like the Legendary Knights, and you'll see why I've got this card in near the end. I'll explain it once I've shown off, I think, 2 more cards that I've got at the moment, but just know that it's part of a strategy that I really like. I've not got all the cards for it, but you'll definitely see. And then finally, the final card that I've got is United We Stand. The equipped monster gains angel attack and defense for each phase of monster you control. So it's basically a more powerful Mage Power with monsters instead. It's a more limited version of Mage Power because you can't really place monsters in your spell trap card zones and still have it count because they'll kind of spell trap cards then. Unless it was Seal of Arcalcus, that would be amazing. It's amazing how none of them played it. Alright, now time for the first trap card of the deck, Fateful Hour. Target one monster that cannot be normal summoned or set in either graveyard, special summon it. So it's basically a monster reborn, but only for trap card and also for monster that cannot be normal summoned or set. So pretty nice, and also the reason why this is here is because of its nostalgia. I feel like it's got a bit of nostalgia there, if you will, if that makes sense. It's Fateful Hour, if that makes sense. Hopefully that made sense. I don't know. And then now for the final trap card in the deck, Tyrant Wing. This is one of the other cards I was talking about with that strategy. I've got one more card to show you, then I'll explain what I mean about that with the Legendary Dragon cards. Now it's time for the extra deck. Now these cards are ordered from lowest level Ixies or Link rating to highest, lowest attack and defense to lowest total attack and defense to highest, and so on and so forth. I've not really come into too much of an issue with ordering it, but unfortunately I don't really have anything here that I can really showcase it, but I can show it with these two actually. So first off is Koala. He requires Sea Koala and Tree Otter as fusion materials, so that's really cool that those two have a fusion upgrade like this, and it's level 6 as well, as opposed to level 4 or 3 that you'd expect from 2 level 2s. And he's not that great, to be fair. None of these cards are that great, but I thought I'd include him anyway because it's pretty cool, I think. It's otters and such, and it's got a fusion, so it's pretty cool, I think. The next one is Crimson Sunbird, which requires Faith Bird and Skull Red Bird. So that's why both of these cards and both of those cards in there as well, because they both have a fusion monster. They're both level 6 as well. Both these cards are level 6, and Koala. Let me reorganize these. Hang on. Koala is actually considered, quote unquote, weaker in this case because, like I said, I always try and do it in terms of attack and defense. Simply because he's got 2,800 attack and 200 defense, so for a total of 3,000. Whereas Crimson Sunbird has 2,300 attack, so a loss of 500 attack, but a gain of 1,600 defense. So obviously quite a bit more powerful than Koala, at least in terms of total stats. Obviously, if they both had the same defense, then Koala would be more powerful, but that's kind of how I set it up. If you want, because that's how I like to order it, because the extra deck is full of weird stuff now, and well, maybe I'll do it on card frames as well, but I'm not sure there. Like, I've always done it weirdly like this. Anyway, next card is Genix Ally Triforce. Now, anyone who's played Zelda will automatically know why this card is in the deck. And there's another card as well that has a similar effect to this card, where instead of Earth, Fire and Light, it's Water, Wind and Dark. But this card has 3 effects depending on what the attributes of materials you use. So that's pretty cool as well. And it's also got the same level, attack and defense and attribute as Dark Magician as well. So that's kind of cool as well. Alright, next up is Dark Paladin. Now, this card isn't in here because it's Dark Magician. This is the final card for my Legendary Dragon thing, right? At the moment, anyway. The last card I've got anyway in the deck for it. Obviously, there's going to be more, but the way, but this is with the Itemize, you can summon out any fusion monster that lists Dark Magician, including ones that don't actually make sense for you to be able to summon. So you can summon out this guy, which doesn't really make sense. I mean, I guess maybe it does, but in a way it doesn't really. To summon out this guy, and with that you can use the Itemize to get this guy out, and then you can use the other 2 spell cards to get specifically Tyrant Wing Dragon. I can't remember what it's called, but I'll put it up on the screen. Tyrant Wing Dragon, as well as Red-Eyed Split Dragon Sword on the field. You can use the other 2, spell cards to summon those 2 cards out, and then both of them can equip onto Dark Paladin. Just make sure to summon Dark Paladin before Red-Eyed Split Dragon Sword, because Red-Eyed Split Dragon Sword does automatically equip onto a monster as soon as it hits the field. Assuming it can, of course. But and if it can't, then it just doesn't equip onto anything. So make sure to summon Dark Paladin before Red-Eyed Split Dragon Sword. But the fact of the matter is that those 3 cards will combine to make a pretty powerful effect, if you will, a pretty powerful monster, if you will. Obviously no protection, but well, I say no protection. This card does have a bit of protection in a way, but it's still a pretty powerful dragon, anti-dragon effect, if you will, and I really like that idea of it. Next up is D3S Frog. Requires 3 Death Shrugs. Pretty much the same. Well, he's got 2,500 attack and 2,000 defense, so kind of a normal main character stat line, if you will. And he gains 500 attack for each Treeborn Frog in your graveyard. Kind of a pity it's not for every Death Shrug in your graveyard, but that might be pushing it a bit too much. But with such a restriction of you can only fusion something with the above cards and no protection, I would imagine that it'd be fine if it said 500 attack for each Death Shrug in your graveyard instead. It's pretty powerful, but in that regard, but otherwise it's not amazing. It's still a part of the Frog stuff, which I didn't go over all of them. The main one there being Flop Frogger, I think it's called, but otherwise, And finally, 5-Headed Dragon. This is pretty. I don't remember watching the season with this card in it too often, but I remember it was in season 4 of GX. It's a pretty nice card in a way. It's not really that great because its only protection is it's by battle, and even then only against 5 to 7 attributes. But then even then that's even then, even if it was all 7, that's still pretty pathetic. You know, because it's already pretty powerful in terms of attack. So it's like you can be destroyed by any spell card, any trap card, any monster effect. You can still be destroyed by that. So yeah, I guess it's just one of those very early on powerful monsters, if you will, especially with dragons. You know, it's so that's you know. So yeah, there's a few more cards I don't currently have that I want to put in, but you know, but for now I don't have them in. Maybe I'll put them in next time or something. Which is another thing I do want to do. You know, something of you know, like I might think about doing this like annually. So maybe like every year, maybe I'll show off this deck at the end of each year or something, or showcase anything that's new in the deck. I do want to start doing more deck profiles as well, so yeah, look out for those. But I thought this would be the first. I thought this would be a cool start to it, especially to the new year. So yeah, again, like I said, I'm not really competitive or anything. I'm just play for fun, if anything. So you know, if it'd be nice to see other people's you know, fun decks, nostalgia decks or whatnot, if you've got any. But if you know, if anything, you know, especially if you do a deck profile video, if that'd be nice to see if you're willing to do so. Obviously totally up to you though. So but yeah, so thank you for watching, and I won't see you next year because the time this video is being released at midnight tonight. So I mean, maybe it'll be next year for you, but I highly doubt that. So so yeah. Alright, so yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a Minkey day.